open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to Kentucky's Voice. It's a Friday edition, which is awesome. That means we get a little bit crazy and we can talk about topics that are a little esoteric and fun, but we'll try to keep it mainstream today. So I wanted to do another land acknowledgement today, but the producer wouldn't let me do it because he thought we'd get canceled, and so I'm still probably going to try to do it before the end of the show. But anyway, so we do have, and the reason for that is we have Buffalo Bob with us today. You know, Buffalo Bob Scott, who's fresh back from Montana, from his reservation, and so I'm glad he's here
with my Indian princess,
with his Indian princess Caroline of the Dakotas. You know, there we go.
That's hilarious.
Caroline of the Dakotas.
She is a beautiful princess too.
That's right. Yeah, we need to make a Disney movie out of her. So. We have Debbie Robbins is with us as well, who's a Kentucky princess. But anyway, so today we're going to talk about a couple things. We've got, McConnell is still in the news. We got to talk McConnell. And, I was kind of breaking this down, guys. Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on some of the latest speculation about this. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to figure out, how would the special election go? Okay, if so, so say McConnell. Well, first of all, if you haven't tuned in, if you've been under a rock, McConnell is sick, right? And he's obviously sick enough where he really can't be in public, and people are speculating about his health. Is he going to die? Should he resign? Da 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 da. Also, he's one of those that are blocking the SAVE Act, which needs to be passed, and so the speculation is, well, if he can resign before August 3rd, then we can have a special election, get somebody else in there that could maybe vote for the SAVE Act, and that would be good for that. But how would that special election go? Okay, right. So here's my understanding of the special election. I just did a little Googling this morning on it. So if it does happen before August 3rd, then the parties get to choose the candidates for their respective parties. So Republicans
for the runoff.
For the runoff election.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for the special election.
Exactly.
Because there is no primary.
Right.
So
no runoff. I'm sorry. You're right.
It's just an election.
Just listen, Debbie.
So, that's right. So you get Republicans picking, probably a couple of Republicans, and the Democrats picking a couple of Democrats. However, there is a process for a petition to be made to have an outsider, have an independent. And so now the speculation is, well, maybe Massey resigns the Republican Party, and he gets a petition to get. I think you maybe need 1,000 or 5,000 signatures. Probably wouldn't be hard. There's enough Massey, cultists out there. No, I'm just kidding. If you're a Massey fan, you're not a cultist. But there's a lot of really serious Massey fans
starting to fight today
that would sign that in 2 seconds. So then you have Massey, Barr, and then a Democrat running in that general. So guess what would happen is the Republican vote will be split, and you end up getting a Democrat.
Don't even say that.
You get a Democrat winning that. So, or Massey might win for whatever reason, because it's whoever the plurality. Yeah, I'm sorry, I had enough coffee today. That word. Whoever wins
10 times.
Yeah, there we go. Whoever gets that wins the election, I believe. I think that's a plurality vote. God, why can't I say that? Okay. Anyway, so that possibly, he gets the most votes of the three, and even though he didn't get a majority, and so then Massey wins, and so maybe that's the speculation. That maybe
it could be, but I'm going to throw a wrench in there. It depends on if you have to be registered a certain party for a certain amount of time.
I don't.
So that I don't know.
I'm going to Google
that.
So
I may have just ruined your story.
During the break and see if that's the case.
If I ruined your story, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but I think.
But the good news is we have John Hodgson with us on at the bottom of the hour, right?
I'll ask him.
And he should know lots of stuff. If he
but
doesn't,
he
he's
helped
fired.
write this
No.
bill. He helped write this bill that covers the whole special election. So, yeah, and he's an attorney, so he can break this down for us.
He's going to clarify.
So that'll be great. So we have him at the bottom of the hour. John's awesome. So anyway, guys, we have. What do you think? 30 seconds left. What do you think? He's going to resign or not, Debbie?
He's stubborn. No.
He's stubborn. Bob, what do you think? Is he?
I think it's all going to work out in the end.
Okay. All right.
I really do. I'm not too worried about it.
Okay.
As we come up to it.
Got it. So, I don't know.
Well,
So
let us
it
know
could
what
be,
you think.
It could be, yeah, let us know what you think. 502-571-0970. He could be trying to play a party game here. He's trying to keep the seat Republican. Who knows? I don't know.
Radio online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We're just speculating about the McConnell health situation, you know, if he did resign, because we were really advocating that yesterday, that he should resign in order to, you know, help get the SAVE Act passed, because he's one of the folks that are blocking it. However, if he did resign, I still don't think the math is there in the Senate, even in this current term. Even if they had a lame duck session after the midterms, there's still not enough people there to vote on closure to prevent a filibuster. Right. You still wouldn't have enough, and there still probably wouldn't be enough Republican senators to ignore the filibuster and just vote on a majority vote. So it would just help. It would help to have another senator in there that's more pro-SAVE Act. But I don't think just putting a pro-SAVE Act senator in a special election before the midterms would help get the SAVE Act passed. You still have a lot of other senators that would just not vote for that. So yeah, I don't know. It could be a lot of to do for nothing. I don't know.
It's
tough. What do you guys think?
It's really tough, but I need to think on it some more. I don't know what they're going to do, but I do want to say to our audience out there again, because we're different. Your voice. We are representing Christ. We are representing Christianity. We're representing the Christian voice. And there's nothing that the power of God cannot do, as Tom and I and Bob know. And so we need to pray. We need to pray for these leaders. I get really upset with their egos edging God out. Ego. And it drives me crazy, because, goodness, can they not see how desperate that it is that we have? All I want is to live in a peaceful country that loves God, loves your neighbor, that we have a culture that's for family, that is just for goodness.
Or we just have a culture, you know.
Yes,
it'd be nice just to have a culture.
Exactly.
Because
it's
multicultural means you don't have a culture. It's just, so I'd like to maintain American culture. And yes, there are differences in cultures, right?
Right.
You can make a judgment call on culture. And so people say, well, that's so, you're racist. Well, race is not a culture, right? You know,
no.
I can come along and say, listen, the Indian culture in the 19th century, when they went and burned their wives, burned the widows. This is what they did. It's a true story. The English, controlled India at the time, but there was this tradition in India where when a man died, the wife had to be burned on the funeral pile because she was supposed to die with the husband. And so there's an Indian practice called sati or something. And the British looked around and go, what are you doing? You're burning these widows alive? What are you doing? And so this is our culture. This is what we do. This is our tradition. And the British goes, well, our culture, we call that murder. And if you do that, we're going to kill every one of you. And they stopped that practice because
Right.
there was a judgment call made that some cultures are better than us. Some values are better than others. And
Right.
so this multicultural stuff just doesn't work in reality. It's all utopian thinking. Anyway, Bob, let's get your thoughts on the McConnell
What does the
Save Act
mountain man
thing. Do you think it's even worth trying to push this to get the Save Act passed or what? Buffalo Bob, you there?
Oh, we can't hear him.
No audio. No audio.
Should the Save Act, sorry guys,
There we go.
I had my audio turned down. Should it be passed? Absolutely. Again, it's a no-brainer. I think honestly that the real question is we being the American public, need to be asking what kind of people are we electing to this office? Are they representing us? Or are they representing other special interests that are hammering on them? And it's ridiculous when you have a Republican-controlled Senate right now, and I know they're playing the filibuster game and saying you have to get to 60 votes. And
Right.
well, we all know that's a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
No other way to put it.
Especially
It's
right now, Bob.
smokescreen.
Especially right now.
I'll say it.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it, but John Thune is Mitch McConnell too.
That's right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's a clone. He tries to act like he's for this, but it's very obvious he's not. As leader, he knows what strings to push or buttons to push and strings to pull. To get things moving, and he simply is not doing it. It's that simple.
But why? Why?
Well,
Can somebody please?
yeah,
I mean, we can speculate,
have
but
a
I
bunch
really want
of,
to know.
You have a bunch of elderly senators that have been there for a while, and they want to be they want to maintain the institution, the integrity of the institution. They want to be lions of the Senate and protect the traditions. And the traditions of the Senate is to have a filibuster rule where you have to have 60 votes, and they don't want to be the guy. They don't want to be the guy or the senator that blows that up. But Bob, to your point, the time is this is a different time now, and because as soon as the Democrats get control, everyone knows that they're going to blow that filibuster rule out. They don't care. They're going to vote for statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico. They're going to try to pack the court. That the left has already crossed the Rubicon. They're already in that mindset where this is all out. No holds barred. It's political warfare. They already tried to, lock up Trump 3 times. And so as soon as they get power, they're going to do that anyway. So why aren't we getting serious about the state we're in as a country?
Well, Tom,
know.
what you're speaking is truth. It's 100% the truth, and may not want to hear it, but we know that the Democrat Party has lurched left, communist,
Yeah,
socialist,
we got communists
whatever.
in there now. Communist, not just
They're
Democrat.
there.
Yes,
So that party has sadly been fully seized now. So the question is, what is this going to look like? Are we going to be, as the people, are we going to rise up and say no?
Exactly. Bob, I want to say too, I don't want to, and I appreciate what you said, Tom, about, okay, these guys want to follow the rules and whatnot, if they want to be, keep the decorum, but it's deeper than that. Something is controlling this man. It's either he is benefiting from this in some way or form, or I don't want to say, I would be so disappointed if it's just pure pride and arrogance.
You're talking about John Thune, right? Not
Yeah, I'm talking
McConnell.
about John
Yeah,
Thune. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that for him not to forward this along,
Yeah.
there's something deeper there. And it's holding him back. And I know it's nefarious to talk about, and I don't even want to think that our side of the political aisle would ever do anything that is not, has integrity behind it. But it happens. And hey, maybe it is just pure pride. That's the worst thing that we have in Scripture that brings us down.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, there are ways for them to get this done, and he's just not doing it, Bob. Like you said, he's not doing it. I don't understand why. Again, either one of you. I mean,
Well, I don't know.
it's just why.
It could be the merits of the bill. Maybe they're against the SAVE Act and what it stands for. or could this be they're trying to protect the filibuster rule in the Senate? And so, well, probably both, probably a mixture of both. I mean, I know some of the some of the Republican senators are a little more rhinos, a little more moderate, and so they probably don't like the provisions of the voter ID and all these things.
Well, a couple of them would be definitely defeated if Murkowski didn't have that. What is it? What was it called? Where the top two go on or whatever, or the ranking system, which is absolutely ludicrous.
Exactly.
If she didn't have that, she wouldn't have won. It would be Sarah Palin that would be sitting there.
We did have a text that came in from a viewer. Says McConnell has always been a master manipulator, sometimes in our favor, sometimes not. And so,
True.
But he is. He's really a strategic, tactician of the Senate. It's just he was.
I like that text because it's very simple and right to the point and true.
That's right. Yeah, McConnell's definitely someone to lean on if you're trying to figure out how to navigate the rules of the Senate. He was really the masters of that. So maybe he's looking at this that way. It's like, listen, I'm sick. I should resign. But if I resign, we're going to get a Democrat in there. Maybe that's his thinking, because Massey's going to get, he's going to come in and be the spoiler, and he's going to steal Barr's votes. Maybe that's what he's thinking.
True. I mean, yeah, I think that, it was like I was trying to say yesterday and didn't say it very well, is that very point, Bob. You're right, that he or the person that sent the text, sometimes maybe because he's in the inner circle, he knows what's going on, he may see things that we do not. Yeah. So,
well, at least tell us, talk to us. We're not idiots.
Right,
we're all adults out here. You can tell us your strategy.
Right.
It ain't going to mess things up. Tell us, I want to stay in here.
At this point, does it really matter?
True. That's true.
You're right, Bob.
He's on the way out.
He's a lame duck anyway. Yeah, but at least let us, for
at
your
least
legacy's
we know what
sake,
President
tell us
Trump
what's going
thinks. On. Well, and that's I think what we've all been, whether we like or if people still don't like President Trump, shame on you overall, because. Right. He tells us what he thinks. He's been very transparent.
Oh,
I'm sure he can't tell us everything.
You know what? Somebody made a point on one of these social media podcasts that Trump did not come out yesterday and have a very strong opinion about McConnell's health or what he should do. It was just kind of like
he just said, "I don't know.
I don't know." And usually when he does that, it's kind of he's either hiding something or holding back, because usually this man has an opinion about everything, and he didn't care. He didn't care what you think about him, so he's just going to tell you. But so I think maybe he's kind of weighed some of this out too. So I don't. There's some sort of calculus going on behind the scene. I think that's fair to say. And it all boils down to right now that McConnell should just lay low and try to stay alive till August 3rd. I think that's probably what that calculus is leading up to. Now, is that good for the SAVE Act? Is it good for the country? Is it good for everything else? I don't. It's still. I still think he should resign just for the sake of But if we get a Democrat in there, maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he should. Maybe I roll back what I said yesterday. I don't know.
I know, and it is an interesting point you made about President Trump, because he just seems to have been very reticent this entire year in regard to Kentucky politics.
Yeah.
So he hasn't. But
it's
been he's taken his time, or he has taken his time in giving his opinion.
I will pull up this clip, if Mr. Producer, if you can pull it up here.
But hey, people, please keep texting us 502-571-0970. We want your opinions. We want your there it is. The president.
No audio.
Oh, no audio. That's okay.
Okay.
He just says, I don't know.
He's just saying, I don't know. He's just saying, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, there we go. Okay. Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts more about this. Should he resign? Should he not? Why shouldn't he resign? Why should he resign? What are the, is he really sick? Some people think he's dead. There's a Okay, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. Well, let us bring John in right away. Let's not wait till the last second. Okay.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We're talking about all things Mitch McConnell today because that is, he's in the news, and we need to figure out, what he should do, what the state wants him to do. Is it good? Should he resign? Should he not? Is it good for the party if he does? Is it good for the SAVE Act if he does? Is it bad for the party if he does?
Because and people in the Congress, even at this morning, are saying dead or alive.
Yeah, dead. Right. Exactly. Right. There's still questions about if he's healthy or not. So anyway, but we have a special guest that's on with us right now who might give us some insight because he helped write the rule on the special election process. So,
and he's very alive.
He's very alive. Is one of our favorite state reps. It's John Hodgson, and so we'll bring you on, John. And so, John, your district is what? District 30?
36.
36, and it's in Oldham
36
County.
in Eastern Jefferson County. Yes, sir.
Eastern Jefferson and Oldham. Okay, terrific. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we've been speculating for a couple of days about the whole McConnell thing, and what's your take on it? What do you think he should do?
Well, we've changed the law in the legislature that says that we have a special election to fill a senatorial opening. That's consistent with the 17th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that said you can either use appointment or special election. There's a section in the Kentucky Constitution that Andy Beshear might try to hang his hat on that speaks about using appointment for certain offices if you are not within 3 months of the general election. Well, as of August 8th, we will be. So I think that very thin argument Andy Beshear would have to take a court action goes away around August the 8th.
Okay.
I think the big concern is that regardless of the law, that he will seek to appoint Charles Booker and just go to court. And we could very well end up seeing that court battle drag out past Election Day and not seat anyone for Kentucky until January. So
okay, so that's another risk. That Kentucky just wouldn't have anybody, not just a Democrat or Republican. So then the Senate, or at least the Republicans, would still be short one seat, just because no one's filling it. So that's a risk as well. So there's a lot of risk here that I guess the McConnell camp is weighing, and so that's interesting. But
may I clarify,
ahead, yeah.
John? Did you say he could appoint Booker?
He'll try.
Or he'll just
but
try.
It won't be legal.
Or he
could.
And
so,
as Andy Beshear has demonstrated over and over, he doesn't care what the law says.
Right.
Doesn't care about the plain reading of the law. He'll do what he wants, and he'll see us in court. Whether he wins or not, he gets publicity for his presidential run. So,
right. Interesting.
That's the challenge.
But that challenge goes away after August 8th. Is that right? And so, because it's
well, I'd say the section of the Constitution he might want to hang his hat on has a 3-month trigger before the general election that says if you get a vacancy in one of these myriad of state offices, probably not applying to the Senate office, but he'll make that case that if you're within 3 months of the general, you don't appoint. And that would apply to, county judges and things like that. But not speaking for him, don't know what his legal attempt would be, but if I were in his shoes and wanted to make a case, that's what I would go after.
But someone said August 3rd is the deadline for him to resign in order to trigger a special election, and so
yes, it's 3 months. I believe the election is November 3rd this year. Is that right?
I think so.
If so, the statute says, or the Constitution of Kentucky says 3 months before that date, which around the range of August the 3rd.
Interesting. Okay. Well, all right. So that's the calculus. So. Okay. Well, very good, Bob. But what are your thoughts here? You want to?
Well, my thoughts, just to be clear on this, John, with regard to, so after August 8th, Andy Beshear cannot appoint. Is that what you're saying? Under any circumstance?
I don't think Andy Beshear can appoint now. Period. I think it's illegal.
Right. I think we're in agreement with that.
He doesn't care if it's illegal. He'll still try. But I think the thin basis that he would try to use is the 3-month statute, and then also there's a 56-day clock that you have to give the sheriffs to get someone on the ballot. That is another factor in the statute. So, but I think his legal case gets thinner and thinner and thinner as we go past August 3rd.
Okay,
because it's just not practical to put somebody on the ballot.
Just realistically, I mean, November's going to be on us, as I like to say, a hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, it's going to be honest, and we know trying to put together any kind of election takes time to get everything laid out. So realistically, are we just kind of, I guess, voicing in the wind right now with regard to this situation?
Well, in a similar situation in 2012, Thomas Massie was on the ballot twice, on the same ballot in November, once for a special election to fill the empty seat in November and December, and once for the general election to take office in January. So he was in my district, I voted for him twice in 2012, and he immediately took office. And then in January, when everybody else came in, he had just about that much extra seniority. So it would give Kentucky. I think Andy Barr is going to win the Senate race, and it would be good to have another, Republican vote in there if McConnell does not return for those last 2 months. But I hope McConnell does return, and that's probably the best solution for everyone. Is that he continues.
What have you heard? What have you heard yourself? Anything?
Nothing. Yeah, and not something I'm going to go probe into a lot.
I understand that, but may I ask you this as our representative? What do you think is the responsibility of an elected official to the people? Because I think that we're feeling that we're just being left out of the loop. I agree. I understand personal health, personal family issues, anything. I want people to have privacy. But to go as long as they have gone, which is not like McConnell. He's always had such a wonderfully run office, wonderfully run organization, but we just really feel left out and think that it's just, I don't think it's appropriate. But I want to know, you as an elected official, what do you feel like your responsibility is to the people in a situation like this?
Well, different things govern federal officials and state officials until they pass the 17th Amendment. Senators were appointed by the legislature. I wish we'd never passed the 17th Amendment in the Woodrow Wilson era, because it kind of neutered the state legislators.
Yeah. Good point.
And that era screwed up a lot of things besides that.
In that circumstance, if you had something like this, the state legislature might go, hey, what's going on? We need to know. But I don't believe there's anything in the Constitution or statute that unless the Senate chooses to unseat someone who is having a personal or medical emergency, I don't think there's anything in the statute that gives anybody the right to know legally.
Right. Yeah, I guess
I'm not going to speculate about what's going on or what their policy is.
Right.
I can tell you that I can verify that I am currently alive.
There we go. Proof of life right here.
We're very happy about that.
John's proof of life is right here. So, well, I guess there's just a question of what's appropriate. I mean, I don't think any senator should allow this much speculation to go on for weeks about his health. So I think Kentucky's owed some sort of explanation beyond just a call into a random pundit on CNN as a proof of life. He needs to call somebody and say, I'm okay, I'm cogent, I can. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. But I'm not speaking for you. But well, John, we're glad you're on today. There's a lot of other stuff to cover. I mean, there's the session's over. The current House session.
They're working.
But they're
doing
still working.
Some cool stuff.
So what is on the agenda right now? What are the hot issues in state politics with policy that you're focusing on? Just take us whatever direction you want to go.
Yeah. What I'm focused on the last couple of days is I've done a lot of electronic privacy legislation in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
First one I passed was a law that said that the government cannot put a camera on your private open land without a warrant. Everybody thought that was the case anyway. It wasn't, because of a court decision called the Open Fields Doctrine. So we made that illegal back in 23. The following year, I got a drone privacy bill passed that said that somebody can't come fly a drone and take pictures through your window or private views without a warrant.
Really?
Either the government or your neighbor. This
That's
last
great.
year in 26, I got an automated license plate reader bill passed that doesn't go into effect until July 15th, but it limits the retention period of that data, the uses of that data, and says that you cannot sell or transfer it. So for both public and private entities, that cut off a huge avenue for people to go collect information on, where Bob Scott is at any of 100,000 cameras in the country, and perhaps even use AI to map his location for nefarious purposes.
Wow.
Maybe it's a bill collector or a hitman or ex-business partner or angry co-host.
So
We're
we
gonna come
made
back.
that illegal, but now technology has suddenly leapfrogged us. So I'll get into that more after the break.
Very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the flock cameras as well that were
Right.
that are controversial. We'll be right back here at Kentucky's Voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Well, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush. And we had a show on Monday with Dr. Lance, and he spent the program on the topic of these flock cameras. And these are cameras that are being put up around that could be put up in this area. I think they're already being put up, that are basically just remote surveillance cameras that are actually like, robotic, controlled PTZ style cameras that, they have these all over England. If you go to London, London is just like one giant big brother.
China.
And China. Yeah.
They've been in China for a long time.
Right.
Go figure.
Just one big surveillance state, and just to track your every movement. And of course, they claim it's to prevent crime and it's to prevent it's for public safety, but it's also an invasion of privacy because they know
For your
everything-
protection.
For your
you know.
protection, of course.
Right.
Of course. And that's how everything that's totalitarian is sold, is for your protection, for the good of the people. So they're trying to bring that into this country and into the state, and we have some very brave legislators that are standing up and say, well, this is maybe not what we should do in Kentucky, where this is a land of freedom and a rugged individualist, so we don't need to be surveilled. And so we're going to talk about that with John Hodgson, who's on the line with us. But first, Bob, I want to go to you. I think we have a good text that came in about.
Yeah, absolutely. It really sets up well, and one that I happen to concur with. And I'll say this, ladies and gentlemen, I have several legislators that I know that I deeply respect and admire, and conversely, I've got quite a few that I don't. But I will say, John Hodgson, I probably agree with him about 95% of the time, on it, and leaning more towards 100%. But that being said, he is someone that I know for a fact is there to fight for every Kentuckian, and he's a true conservative. He's a true patriot. I know. I've seen him at various patriot type meetings, over the years, and he cares. He cares about our constitutional rights. He puts his money where his mouth is. In fact, a comment that came in, and he said, the comment said, District 36 is the most fortunate district in the state. Thank you, John Hodgson. And obviously they're talking about to have John Hodgson representing them. And again, John, enough of my bloviating. I want to get to back to you and the discussion
disclaimer.
at hand.
Disclaimer. This is not a paid endorsement of John Hodgson, but it's
No,
still.
it's not. It's
but
not.
but we do like
I
John
say, I
Hodgson.
haven't always
We
agreed
do.
with John Hodgson. He knows that. And I've told him that.
I didn't like when they redistricted me out of 36. That wasn't very nice.
Had too many people. It's so popular.
But anyway, John, let's get back into this discussion. We're getting a lot of comments coming in, and by the way, folks, 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. If you want to text in a comment or a thought, we always love to hear what you have to say. But John, your thoughts. We left off, talking about flock cameras, and you need to explain people that's.
What are they?
Referring to
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
specific brand or product, and not a process, as a whole. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, Flock is a brand name, kind of like Kleenex or Coke or something like that, for a camera. But within that manufacturer, they have a couple of products. The one that just does license plate recognition is called the Sparrow camera, and that is a fixed camera, doesn't move. They have a more advanced camera called a Condor that does have tilt and zoom and things like that. It can be used for surveillance in a park or something like that, and may have facial recognition on it. There are at least 4 other major manufacturers of cameras that are being used in the private sector. People mount them on over-the-road trucks, dump trucks, taxi cabs, all kinds of things to collect information. So there's 3 categories of information that we're currently looking at. The one that's existed for a while is ALPR, Automated License Plate Reader. That's taking a picture of your license plate, turns it into data, associates it with the make, model, serial number of your car, and that sort of thing. It's used to catch, stolen vehicles, fleeing felons, kidnapping things, evidence in crimes, to pursue someone. We got put one in my neighborhood because I live way out on the fringe of Jefferson County where there's no streetlights or sidewalks, but we would get roving bands of 4 young men in a car, 2 or 3 cars sometimes, come in, masked up with hoods on, 4 a.m, and hit every car door handle in the neighborhood, every door handle, every house. They stole a couple of cars, got some, quite a few things. And the only evidence we had was from that camera that said, "Oh, we've got the license plate numbers. We think we know who this crew is." And that would be, evidence to pursue them. Unfortunately, the police don't have enough time in Louisville to pursue anything but violent crime. But that was the only defense that we had out here where there are no regular police patrols. So if you talk to people that live in the city or in high crime areas, they say, please protect me from these criminals with surveillance cameras, shot spotters and things like that. The criminals are running amok. If you talk to somebody living in a suburban area or a rural area, they're like, keep that stuff away from me. Well, and I think that's the appropriate split. You want to have enough surveillance to stop the violent criminals, help the police, but not so much surveillance that they're gathering information on individuals. So with regard to the license plate readers and license plate readers only, I passed a bill, House Bill 58, that goes into effect on July 15th. And what that does, it says for both public and private uses, there are only certain enumerated uses that you can make of these cameras for, collecting tolls, parking fees, for securing your parking lot, for, public safety and things of that nature. And then once you've collected that data, you have to destroy it within 90 days, unless it's being used for an active criminal investigation or under subpoena. And once you've collected that information, you can't aggregate it and sell it or transfer it to anyone except for very narrow, law enforcement purposes. And what that does is it prevents a rogue government, 6 months from now from, well, if you remember Easter Sunday of 2020, when Andy Beshear said he was going to arrest people that went to church.
Yeah.
That's right.
Imagine, Andy Beshear Jr. being in power and saying, "Oh gosh, we've got flock cameras everywhere. We're putting out a warrant for the arrest of everybody that went to church today." So that's what you don't want. But you have to balance these two things, that we do need public safety. Crime is run amok in certain parts of our city. The police are not able to protect us, especially with property crime. They will not pursue property crime. They will not pursue juvenile crime. Violent crime only is what they've told us. I had the high-ranking officers in the force tell me that we're not going to chase these people. We don't pursue. We don't go after juveniles. We only have enough time for violent crime. So we need some protection.
And that's scary in its own right, John. And the criminals know that too. With regard to it. And I'll say this: I live in Shelby County. That they've been reaching out, and I'm saying these criminals from Louisville have been coming over into our county and the other neighboring counties. So this really is a huge major problem that's going on right now within our area.
Right. And I hope what I did with House Bill 58, we'll find out once it's been in effect for a year, is that we struck a balance between that need for public safety, very limited purposes for these cameras, limited the retention period, limited the, the sale or disbursement. But it gives law enforcement enough tools to pursue crime, but it doesn't give a rogue government enough intrusion to come and trap you in some kind of a charge at a future date.
So,
And
John, I'm
yeah.
so sorry. I have a question. So if we do have that video evidence, let's say, and they can't pursue the violent crime, but somebody stole something from my house, how can I use that? Can I take it to court? Or how can I be able to preserve that data long enough for me to be able to use it? But on the other hand, I want my privacy too, if it was me.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Yeah.
With the arrangement LMPD has, only law enforcement officers are allowed to access that camera. As a citizen, you can't access that. But if there has been an active crime report and it's an active investigation, they can preserve that information. So maybe used for future investigation, or maybe if put that license plate on an alert list. If it shows up in somebody's neighborhood at 4 o'clock in the morning, they'll go, oh, these are bad actors. In my case, the car was already stolen from another neighborhood, and they were able to detect that was a stolen car. One of the big things they're supposed to do is they're supposed to have alerts. You have a list of stolen plate numbers, a list of fleeing felons, a list of kidnappings. And when that plate gets recognized, it's supposed to set off an alert at the police monitoring station that, hey, this car you're looking for is out here. So that's the intended purpose. We have to make it stop short of wholesale government surveillance. There was a recent Supreme Court case that said you cannot just go on a fishing expedition, and the term is geofencing, where you draw a circle around, J-Town, Kentucky, and say, I want to know everybody who was in here, for these 2 or 3 days. The Supreme Court said, no, you can't just go fishing like that with a geofence. You have to have a warrant. Who are you looking for? What specifically are you after? And that's what the Fourth Amendment is designed to protect us, that you have to search for specific things. You can't just come in somebody's house and look around. You can't just strip search them. It's like, why? What's your probable cause? What is making you search this sector? So we're going to capitalize on that Supreme Court ruling. I want to extend. I have another bill that I'm working on right now that will look at things like facial recognition and a new technology where they are electronically cataloging the things you've got in your pocket, your key fob, your phone, your watch, maybe your earbuds, anything that has an electronic signature. People are advertising that they have this technology. When you're driving by, they can sense that group of electronic items in your pocket. You go, I know it, that's John. And we know John's a fleeing felon and we're going to go get him. But
That's crazy.
You could also identify John for a variety of other things. Like I say,
just so I get that clear, if somebody has just a phone or whatever in their pocket, the technology is there that they can actually go and be able to see that and act upon it. Is that correct?
Yeah, all the little electronic things you have in your pocket put out a signal. They say, here I am. Yeah. Here's my serial number. Okay, it's an IMEI number or something. It's your phone, your watch, earbuds. And so what they've done is they say, we can identify the electronic signatures of these 4 items that Bob's always got in his pocket, and we know that's Bob, or somebody impersonating Bob carrying those 4 items.
Okay.
And use that to trigger. And they're saying this would be great for stopping gang violence and things like that. But it's also terrible if a rogue government is trying to track if Bob's going to church or not. So, but the technology is there. Someone is going to use it, public or private, and we've got to regulate it. So when I'm going to try to have a very narrowly crafted bill that says that technology exists. You can use it for crime fighting in these very narrow windows supported by warrants, but you cannot keep this information on ordinary citizens.
Yeah, this is great.
You can't store it. You can't use it for nefarious purposes. I'm thinking of even defining a list of things that people it's acceptable to track, like say convicted sex offenders, people out on parole and probation, people on the terrorism watch list. That'd be the only kind of people that you could set up alerts for with, let's say, out in the park. If there's a sex offender wandering the park at 2 a.m. and I'm out for a jog, I'd want to know about that.
Yeah, this is so needed because this isn't some esoteric issue. Because the world we're in now with AI and the way data is such a key piece to the economy, people, if there's data available about your location, they will use it. It's going to be used for something. I mean, it might be just not nefarious stuff. It could be just for advertising or whatever, which is what it's used for mostly these days. But that data, if it's being collected, it will be used. It will be put into some system, and your privacy will be violated in some way. It's just there's no. So this is great, John. I appreciate your instincts on this, and we're going to talk more about this in the next segment because there needs to be a balance between safety but private privacy. So we'll be right back.
Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, we're talking about surveillance technology and cameras and what they call flock cameras, which is just a brand name of a surveillance camera. And it's a hot issue right now because we're trying to legislate that here in the state. And with the era of big data and AI, your location and your license plate and just your electronic signature, it's now part of some database somewhere that can be used to track you. And so we're at a point where, you ever seen the movie Minority Report, where Tom Cruise is, walking down the hallway and all of a sudden an ad pops up and says, "Hey, Tom, we see you. And here's your new car you should buy." We're there. I mean, this is where we're at. And so this has to be dealt with in a mature way because there are some trade-offs either way. And we're going to go to some comments that have come in, but I want to hear John Hodgson, who's a legislator, is on the line with us now. He's helping legislate or work through some of this. What is the spirit of what you're trying to do with this? Because there's a balance I think you're trying to strike, but what is the spirit of that? But before you answer that, Bob, go to your text real quick. And so.
Yeah, we've had several to come in. Does the camera information apply to ICE or law enforcement, especially where groups of illegals are being harbored? That's one question that comes in.
Yeah.
Well, the legislation that I passed, House Bill 58, that goes into effect this month, is only about license plate readers, and it's only for certain enumerated purposes. Law enforcement, if someone had committed a crime, I guess including immigration fraud, they could perhaps use that to locate someone based on their license plate number. The bill that I put out has nothing to do with facial recognition technology or electronic signature technology. That's the new one I'm working on.
Okay.
And here's a comment. Cameras can help with disputes for traffic accidents at intersections.
True story.
Which is true. And,
dash cams, yeah, right.
But the difference is, this is very important. That's like a camera right at the spot looking at one thing, and you need that for evidence. And we've had the capability to gather evidence like that for over 100 years, years probably. But what the new thing is, the fact that there are 100,000 of these cameras, and you get a data point every time you pass one, and now you have a movement record that may stretch back months, and you can pattern it with AI and figure out where is Bob going to be at 6 o'clock on Thursday night.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that the purpose, John? Being a little bit more, I guess, nefarious thinking, but the idea of these data centers that are popping up everywhere, there's been several explanations, but is it really about controlling the populace and knowing where and when at every second every citizen is of this country or person is of this country at any time?
Well, is fire about cooking your dinner or burning somebody at the stake? You know?
Okay. Okay, that's good.
You could use it either way.
uh,
That's right. It could be used for either purpose. Right. Mhm.
And one other quick comment. They will pursue the citizen who defends themselves and their property. And, the question that they go on to ask is, but who will supervise the supervisor, or perhaps the other way around? Whose supervision are we going to trust, in these matters as we start? And it's crazy how fast everything is accelerating right now. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and you can't even get your head wrapped around it.
Right.
And that's kind of a problem in its own right, correct?
Well,
I
John,
don't trust anybody
yeah.
to do the right thing without accountability. There needs to be
Yeah,
built-in
agreed.
audit steps, and part of House Bill 58 was that a police department has to have internal controls on who can access this data, how they can use it, that sort of thing, and regular schedule of complying with that. Private individuals, not so much, other than the fact that you can't retain the data for more than 90 days and you can't sell it. Because there are probably more tracking cameras in America that are in private hands than there are with the police department. And in theory, you and I and everybody in the neighborhood could link together our Ring doorbells and provide that to, a private third party or law enforcement agency for some purpose.
Yeah, and I think obviously at the heart of the matter is we're not denying that it's like anything, like a gun, in the hands of a good person is a good thing. Our forefathers knew that. But as we've seen too, in the hands of a wrong person, it can be used for evil,
Right.
So I think the technology is important. It's just knowing, who is controlling it and what's being done about it. And there's another comment just came in. If the data centers are for control, why wouldn't the left be pushing for them more?
So here's the thing with data centers. When you go make a cat meme, that consumes a lot more data processing energy than a lot of this actual data tracking. And it's amazing what a high percentage goes for stupid stuff like that. But data centers are used for everything that we do. I mean, this conversation we're having right now is going through a data center. So
that's right. Whether we like it or not, it's going through a data center.
Yeah, there are hundreds of data centers in this country, thousands maybe, and have been for decades. I mean, that's what powers the internet. So the need for computing power is going up, so they need more data centers. But again, what takes an absurd amount of computing power is stuff like people making stupid cat memes. The graphics processing takes up a lot more than just crunching data. But
So-
I use AI all day to research things. I use it in Bible study. It's a wealth of information. It's like everything anybody ever wrote in the world is at your fingertips, and it's hugely, hugely powerful. It's useful, but can also be used for evil. And China shows the way for us. They say, what can happen if you have an evil, godless government that wants to oppress their people?
Boom. That's right.
Cameras up on every corner, and you have a social credit score, and you tell people, you can't have a bank account or a job or get an apartment, if you've done certain things and lowered your social credit score. And maybe we'll just,
and that's what's really already starting to happen in parts of Europe, as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's where you're seeing the rebellions where people are starting to tear down the cameras. But keep in mind, in England, they're putting more people in jail for Facebook posts than they are for Muslim immigrants raping English girls.
Right.
That's correct.
Exactly right.
It's sickening, disgusting, and sadly correct.
That's not just your government being weak, that's your government working against law-abiding people, protecting criminals, which is just obscene.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
How do we keep that from happening in America, my friend? What can we do?
Well, I think it's the spirit of 1776. You don't allow your government to do that to you. I think eventually you will see people pursue self-help for justice. They'll form local police departments. They'll get neighborhood watches. They'll people defending their own homes with their Second Amendment articles.
But speaking of that, may I jump in and say, how are we going to prevent the Muslims that have come into this country from doing that, having their own little police departments? That really scares me.
Yeah, so there is something, model law out there called ALAC, American Laws for American Courts. It's been passed in a number of states. We introduced a version of that in Kentucky last year. I was a co-sponsor. It didn't pass. We're going to try again. And basically that would ban Sharia law or any foreign law system from being implemented in Kentucky.
Bravo.
Well,
So
what's the acronym again, John? What does it stand for?
ALAC, American Laws for American Courts.
Okay.
So
Good.
Sharia
Great.
is the enforcement mechanism of the political and military system that is Islam. Islam is a political and military system with a religion wrapped around it to give it legitimacy.
100%. That's right.
It's really not the
Yeah.
other way around.
100%.
Muhammad used Islam to conquer the known world 1400 years ago.
Yes.
And you know what? Muhammad applied the tactics back then, the exact same tactics that current Islam is trying to apply to the free world.
Right.
And the question is, are we going to allow it to continue to happen?
That's a question every red-blooded American has to ask themselves. If I were England, I would probably be either taking care of myself or be in jail.
Me too. Me too. It's very scary. But I'm just so thankful that I really am. I'm thankful that you are where you are, and I pray that everybody is very like-minded with you, and I pray that your colleagues are listening to us, because I know that when I speak, I represent hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are like-minded and saying, we want you to pass this. We want you to pass this law on, the
Right.
flock, for lack of a better word, flock cameras. We want, it's very frustrating. And again, I always reiterate, this is a Christian program and Christian conservative thinking, but prayer is our weapon. Prayer is where we go, and we pray for you every day. I pray for our leaders
Appreciate that.
every day. And I thank you for keeping your mind open and your heart open. And tell us more, because we're running out of time, and everybody really
Yeah, we
enjoys
got 3
when you're on
minutes to
here.
go, Brother John.
Keep
Tell
going.
us
Yeah.
what we need to know.
Well, we're early in the season here. I've already got starting to draft 10 different bills, taking care of various things. Some good stuff we had last year that didn't get passed. This is legislative conference season. I've already been to one conference at Liberty University called the National Association of Christian Lawmakers. That was great. They've got a whole bunch of model laws, including that ALAC law that we'll be trying to implement. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to the ALEC conference, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and that's where legislators from across the country come together, and we have focus groups and discussions and debates and share ideas and say, hey, what worked in Florida? Can we steal your law? Can we modify that? And that's I go to that every year. It's a great conference. I usually come back with a notebook full of things that we want to try to get done here. And
That's great.
one of the great things about the American system is that we have 50 states that are little laboratories for how to do things.
That's
So a lot of
right.
times we'll wait
True.
until the law passes and gets implemented in Florida or Tennessee and go, hey, I like that, but I'm going to make this tweak to make this a little better, because they kind of wish they had, now that they've seen this for 2 years, they wish they had done something different. So I think
Exactly
we
right.
all,
Yeah.
you
I'll say exactly right.
benefit from interaction with each other because of that.
Yeah, it seems
And,
like states like Florida is showing the way. There's things you can do if you have a strong majority and a good governor, and you can
Right.
really just
Yeah.
make.
And,
Yeah.
Florida and Tennessee are in the same boat. They got a Republican governor and a Republican legislature, so they can push things farther, faster without getting sued every time they walk through the door, like we've had here for the last 12 years.
Oh,
Exactly
And,
right.
So
And here's a great final question that one of our listeners wants to know. Why did the bill on Sharia law not pass? We have a supermajority. Who voted against a no Sharia law? You got about a minute to go.
okay.
Quick
So
thoughts.
here's the brutal fact. There's about 1,000 to 2,000 bills that get introduced every year. Only about
That's
100 to 200 of them get passed. So your bill, first off, has to get someone's attention, and frankly, very few Democrat bills do. Just a handful might get considered. So they're almost all Republican bills getting passed. But it has to have the sponsorship of someone who's a committee chairman as well as the Speaker of the House to get a vote. So it never came up for a vote. It was filed. It just languished, as many good bills do. And,
Right.
that's unfortunate, but that's the reality in every legislature in the country.
Very good. Okay, guys. Well, John, thanks for being on the show today. We appreciate all your hard work. Have a great weekend, folks. We'll see you on Monday here on Kentucky's Voice.